Welcome to 4x3, a review show where I tell you 4 things I like and 3 things I didn't like about a game I played recently. This week we were talking about Fuse, a 4-player cover-based shooter about governments and rich people hiding some super powerful tech and trying to stop everybody else from getting it. At least that's what I pulled from the story. It is entirely forgettable, and unfortunately the only reason I will remember this game is my general disdain for it. I know that kind of lets the cat out of the bag as to what my feelings are for this game, but I really couldn't recommend it unless you're some Insomniac Games super fan. This is a rare miss for the company, and let's talk about why after I do a little side rant first. I had to go on about a half hour extra just to get the damn game to work. First, it wouldn't progress in the game menu until I connected an Ethernet cable. Then it forced a system update to my PS3, even though the game is 13 years old at this point and I've been using my PS3 fine until now without doing whatever update it had made me do. Then when it was done, I unplugged the janky like PS3 third-party controller I got with this PS3 at the retro game store I got it from, and it kept triggering a message when I launched the game that the controller was unplugged. I ended up having to reset the entire console just to use the proper controller I use, which is a PS4 controller. Then I get the game to finally boot and notice an offline mode that I'm 98% sure was not there when I launched the game the first time. You can imagine how annoyed I was by the time I finally got this game to work. I didn't hold this against the game while I reviewed it, but I needed to bring it up and I needed to vent about it. Moving into the first thing I actually disliked about the game is the characters have personality, but they ultimately feel generic or a bit stereotyped. Izzy is a tough merc who just seems to be in this for the money. Dalton is a meathead who for some reason hates cats, and that's a giant red flag to me. Jacob is there. He feels like someone stuck in to be a bit of a smartass and fill space. Naya felt the most thought out with her family ties to everything and the rift between her and her father that comes up. They do all feel distinguished more as you play, and I think this might have been meant to coax players into multiple playthroughs, as there are several times players hallucinate and see backstory for a character very early on, and you can only experience it while playing that character. So if you use the game's in game mechanic to switch to whatever character you want, there's a chance you can see another character's perspective if you do it right in the level, because it's not all at once. It will randomly happen. Like when I was playing as Jacob just to try to get a feel as him, he trapped somebody in a car and set it on fire, presumably burning them alive in a moment of like vigilante style justice. It all just never really got elaborated on, other than the fact that he was somehow a cop at some point and now he's here, and it made me not really care about most of the characters. Point number 2, I do not like how this game acts like there's been a previous entry in this series, as if these are established characters from some previous adventure. This is the first time we're meeting these characters. Their prior romps are just not known to us. So it comes off as odd when a character is like, oh, how did she get this giant flying attack helicopter? And fucking Dalton over there is just like, oh, I kind of stole it for her as a gift. Stuff like this can be used effectively, but it doesn't work here. I don't feel like this is an existing unit that's done all these adventures and stuff like this before. It made me feel like I had somehow missed a game, an entire part of the story, and that just wasn't even true. The gunplay is a bit stiff, and tracking enemies can be really annoying in this game. That being said, the warp gun is definitely my favorite weapon of this playthrough. I really enjoyed setting off chain reactions and watching multiple enemies get taken out. Moving over to things I like. The cover system is decent, even if it can feel a bit clunky at times. I would often have my muscle memory for Gears of War kick in, and I'd press the wrong button, vaulting over the cover instead of getting into it, which would ultimately turn Izzy or Naya into Swiss cheese. Sorry, ladies. Your teammates are surprisingly competent like 98% of the time. There were a few instances where I'd get knocked or grabbed and they did nothing to help, so I would just die, but for the most part, while in combat, they actually regularly took out enemies and contributed instead of just standing there making noise and taking up space. Each character does have a skill tree that helps them play a little differently, Naya can go invisible. Izzy can heal the group. Jacob is good with explosives and has a special bow. Dalton can deploy more shields, which is helpful, but made me not enjoy playing him because I felt like I couldn't really get into the fight. I really like the ability to hot swap between characters to take advantage of angles or abilities. It was incredibly satisfying. Though I did tend to just stick with Izzy and Naya because those were the most beneficial for me to get through the story. There really wasn't playing a benefit. What? There really wasn't a benefit for me to play Dalton, which I mentioned earlier, which is probably like where the intended 4-player co-op comes in because you could give Dalton to somebody who likes to play that style. He kind of feels like a toned down version of Reinhardt from Overwatch. I hate to make that comparison, but that's what comes to mind. I wish I liked Fuse more than I did. The core mechanics were great, and the characters eventually became likable enough to convince me to push forward with the story. Be that as it may, given the highly repetitive environments, the combat coupled with the game's over reliance on big mech slash robot enemies that they just came up way too often, I found myself wanting the game to be over as soon as possible. The game only has 5 to 7 hours of runtime, but it felt so much longer at times. I'm serious. It felt like Insomniac sat in a room, and every time a boss fight was discussed, they just said, fuck it, make it some dude in a slightly tall mech that takes too long to kill. And just repeated it, adding more and more annoyances each time it came up. Instead of one mech, it would be two. Then it was three, but you fought two at once, and as soon as one dies, the third one comes out. The last level is them being spammed at you on such a frequent basis. You are practically begging the final boss to be something new. Then you get there, and you realize, nope, it's Dollar Store Iron Man, who just spams all the stuff you've been dealing with from mechs up to this point. I died to this dude so much, I almost quit the game because of how much bullshit he spams. I ended up cheesing the entire fight by just rotating around a certain set of boxes and hanging from a ledge because at least this way his stupid laser beam that can go through cover rarely hit me. And what do you get for going through this annoying fight, sitting through the credits? Do you get a cool post-credit scene, an overpowered gun that can let players rinse through the game with ease? I'm never playing this again. Fuse could have been so much more, and I feel like if Insomniac tried it again today, they could find a way to absolutely nail it. I would have liked to run this game with friends, but sadly, that's just not an option. So with all of that in mind, Fuse earns 5 overused bosses out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know down below, did you play Fuse when it came out? How was the online? Did you enjoy this game? Would I have potentially enjoyed this game if I'd played it back in the day? I just wanted to take a second to apologize for the delay in this episode. I kind of got thrown into a new school environment, and it has really worn me out, piled on with a bunch of stuff outside of YouTube that I don't feel like going into. And that's why it took me so long to get this episode out, and why I sound so tired and I'm having trouble like speaking as much as I would. This is actually a longer script than I normally would write, but I struggled while making this. I am very, very worn out from everything I have going on. And I appreciate your patience with this. I know some of you have left. I saw it. I saw the numbers go down. That's okay. I get it. I am currently not able to put out the content I am normally, at the volume I should say, that I would normally put out. I'm hoping down the road that comes back to normal. I really am, because I was kind of just starting to get my footing with YouTube again, and here I am completely preoccupied by stuff outside of YouTube. But you'll be happy to know that I have started on the next review. It's going to take me a little while because it is a survival horror game that may kind of tell you what direction we're going in. But I have to get myself to set time aside to play it because there have been a few days where I've gotten home and I don't have the mental capacity to focus on recording, and I just kind of, I either do homework or I sit there and I zone out playing Apex because it's easy to shut my brain off and just not think or engage properly. And I'm fighting that. I really am. So, long story short, I'm working on the next review. It's coming soon. Thank you all so much for watching. Hit the sub button, share the video with a friend. And as always, be good people.